Hey everyone, my name is Brendan and welcome back to the channel. And this is going to be one of the most important weeks for not only the crypto market, but for pretty much every major economic market in the world right now. And that's because we're going to be getting new GDP numbers for the US, new inflation numbers, Fed interest rate hikes, new housing numbers, and finding out whether the US has officially entered into a recession or not. Now, on top of this, it wouldn't be a proper bear market without just a little bit of crypto exchange FUD. So we have Coinbase getting in trouble with the SEC and Kraken being suspected of violating sanctions. But my goal of this video is to properly help you all understand and break down what all of this means and ultimately if it's a good or a bad thing for cryptocurrency. Now, after all this, we're going to be diving into the chart just a little bit and talking about ZK rollups because this is a major trend that we've seen over the course of 2022 and one of the few areas that's seen a lot of growth in such a bearish time. So if that sounds interesting at all, make sure you stick around for the entire length of this video as there will be important information discussed the entire way through. So let's go ahead and start things off with all of these Fed interest rate, inflation numbers. You know it, you love it. It's been a pretty bearish thing so far this year. But what's happening is if the GDP of the US actually shows a negative increase, or if it goes down and decreases at all, the US will officially have been entered into a recession. Now, we also have GDP numbers, or excuse me, inflation numbers, and if this comes out to be getting worse, then the Fed will most likely continue to raise rates at a 75 basis point raise. Now, this would essentially be bad for the crypto market, as every time that they have raised rates in the past, it has almost always caused the crypto market to go down, as well as the traditionals as well. In fact, since March, the Fed has raised rates by 150 basis points, which is a ton. It's a very, very volatile raise, and this tends to have an inverse effect on the market, meaning if basis points continue to raise at a rapid rate, traditionals and cryptocurrency will most likely move in the opposite direction, which will be downward. So if the Fed raises rates, things will most likely move down. If inflation gets worse, everything will most likely move down. If the US GDP gets worse, the traditionals and cryptocurrency will most likely go down. And if housing gets worse, I think this would be the biggest shock to everyone, because housing's been up there with the gas and the oil market. It's been one of the best performing assets of the last 2 years. And if housing actually continues to go down, then I would imagine that this also hurts traditionals and crypto as well, as it would just make people less risk averse and want to risk essentially less money. Now, what's happening over here with Coinbase is the SEC is investigating whether Coinbase has improperly let Americans trade digital assets that should have been registered as securities. And Bloomberg was the one to officially come out with this, but since then it's been all over the news. And Coinbase stock, if we want to take a look at it, has seen a brutal red day yesterday. I think it was their biggest red day in history, where they fell by 22% or something along those lines. But it was a really, really red day if you count the gap downwards, and not the best news for crypto. But I think what we're seeing is a major overstep of boundaries from the SEC. They're not letting Bitcoin ETFs through. They're not letting cryptocurrency and Coinbase and Kraken and anyone get away with anything. In fact, anywhere where they can stick their hands, they're trying to stick their hands into right now. And it's weird. And I think what we're going to see is we're going to see them eventually lose a case, the SEC lose a case, and it's going to set a precedent for crypto and blockchain companies, and the roles are going to be reversed. And I truly don't think that this can go on for too much longer. And then really all it takes is one crypto SEC win, and that will set a new precedent. So the SEC, I really do think that they're fighting a losing battle here. And with Kraken, this is a whole, I guess, a similar-esque story, but the US crypto exchange Kraken is now being accused of violating sanctions. There is a lot of conversation about whether or not that they're going to still be able to have their US license. Personally, I don't think Kraken's going anywhere. I don't think Coinbase is going anywhere. I think a lot of this is to just stir the pot of the bear market and to make things seem a whole lot worse than they are. For those of you who were around in 2018 or 2017 or anywhere before that, you would remember that we saw a lot of the exact same stuff coming out then that we're now seeing now just a couple years later. So it almost feels like a repeat of events. I think the only thing that we're missing is maybe news that like China has banned Bitcoin or India has banned Bitcoin again. It's pretty much like the only thing that we're missing from this news over here. But this is what's happening in the overall markets, and the effect that this is having on crypto is quite clear. So if there's one thing to watch out for, it's to see what all these numbers that are going to release very, very soon actually do release at. And if they do, we have a proper understanding of what that could mean for the greater cryptocurrency market. Now, Bitcoin itself is actually green about 1% on today, but it did see some falling action over the weekend as this Coinbase news did come out. So another thing to keep your eye out on is if Coinbase and if these exchanges are seeing new news, new bearish news, new bad news, then that could be a sign that cryptocurrency is going to continue to the downside. But if there is some sort of good news that comes out, whether that's inflation numbers or GDP numbers, or Coinbase gets cleared or Kraken gets cleared, then this will most likely make cryptocurrency rapidly rise. In fact, if all of this starts getting cleared up, which eventually it will, eventually the Kraken news will go away and Coinbase news will go away, and inflation will, well, inflation might not get that much better, but the GDP will eventually start increasing and the housing market will recover. And once all of that starts to happen, which again, eventually will, you'll start seeing not only traditionals, but cryptocurrency start rapidly rising again. And we have to remember that the main reason why cryptocurrency is down right now is because everything's down. Nothing is up except for maybe gas, right? We know gas prices are high. And I've said this a lot, but it's true. So once things start to recover, I think we're going to see a rapid development and growth in the world of crypto. But one of the areas that we're seeing the most growth in is in ZK rollups, which essentially stands for zero knowledge rollups. And we had the great pleasure of actually going in depth about ZK rollups and how they've impacted the cryptocurrency market, who is using them, and why they're significant in the recent Crypt Nation newsletter. So if you want to join the Crypt Nation crew, go ahead and check the link or the description down below. And I have a link inside of there where you can check out Crypt Nation and see if it'd be a good fit for you. But, you know, I love it. I'm personally biased, though, because I'm one of the analysts over there. But it's a great place to be, and we have a lot of great content as well. Now, what's happening in the crypto market is we're seeing a little bit of a deviation from what we're used to. We've seen essentially 3 different consolidation ranges. We had a consolidation range from 50K to 40K, from 40K to 30K, and then from 30K to 20K. And every time we break one of these consolidation ranges, we move down to about the next $10,000 range. Hence why we went from 50, 40, 30, now 20. And so as we continue this very methodical move, we are now reaching a little bit of a deviation point for crypto, because what we saw is in the first consolidation range, we saw lower swing highs and lower swing lows. In the middle consolidation range, we saw no higher swing highs or no higher swing lows. It was really just this sideways consolidation. And in this most recent one, we're seeing the reverse of what we saw in the initial drop, which is higher swing highs and higher swing lows. So what does this mean for crypto? Well, number one, I think people are a lot more comfortable buying Bitcoin here than they were up here. And that should be a given, right? That should be a very clear thing, is that the lower something gets, the more comfortable people are buying it because they see it as undervalued. However, we can still see that FUD in bad news and a lot of these macroeconomic reports that are coming out can still impact how cryptocurrency is moving. Now, for a while, and I actually want to go ahead and add back some of our moving averages so that we can see what's happening over here, as well as volume. Volume was also on the rise as we were on our way up, and that was very clear. Now, we are starting to see a little bit of fall in volume as we enter back into the median of this rising channel that we're seeing. But the number one thing to watch out for here is a potential bear flag situation. And those of you who are familiar with crypto and technical analysis, I would say not even crypto, just technical analysis, you'd understand that a move downwards followed by a rising channel can commonly be called a bear flag. So that's something to watch out for in this area. Again, this does seem a little bit different because there is that idea of that this is a 3-leg pattern. It's a common belief in cryptocurrency that Bitcoin likes to move in legs of 3. So the idea over here is that this was leg 1, this was leg 2, and then this could be the 3rd leg. And it could be time for Bitcoin to see a little bit of a bounce. And one of the big areas that I've seen people looking at is this 200-day moving average right around $35,000. Now, if Bitcoin does go to there, that would mean that Bitcoin's increasing by about 63%. Now, this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. It's not something that's going to happen like this week, probably even next week. But if we can see a break of Bitcoin back above this initial resistance, above these higher swing highs, and into its previous consolidation zone, I don't see any reason why Bitcoin in the least can't test the lower area of the 30,000, the upper area of the 20,000s, or even break through this and go see that $35,000 Bitcoin or that $34,000 Bitcoin. I think it really is a true possibility when we see a bounce. So that's ultimately what I'm seeing on the Bitcoin chart. On the MACD and the RSI, there's really not too much going on. The MACD and the daily RSI are incredibly neutral right now. One of the big things that we saw in the past was bullish divergence on the weekly and monthly MACDs and RSI, but those are starting to go back towards a neutral zone as well. So those have definitely had their little play out, and it was pretty justified for the most part. I mean, we saw triple bullish divergence on the MACD, and ultimately Bitcoin rose by 40%. Ethereum, if we want to take a look at that, rose by a whole lot more. I think it rose by 40% in the last week or two. But Ethereum saw a rise of around 80%, so nearly double what Bitcoin did. And then we had things like Lido, LDO, and Matic, which saw incredible returns. I think Matic is up something like 200%, 163%, and LDO was another great performer that we love to talk about in Crypt Nation, and this guy went up almost 300%. So overall, it's been a great past couple of weeks for not only the Bitcoin market, but for the altcoin market as well. And a lot of these altcoins like Lido, like Matic, like Ethereum, they are continuing to push, and there's a lot of other potential out there. But I think we're going to go ahead and round off the video here and leave a little bit for Friday's video to talk about. But there's plenty of opportunity. The overall takeaways from this video are watch the economic events that are coming out, see how the news can play into everything, and then keep your eye out on new technology in the altcoin market, because there's so much potential out there. And if you ever want to learn more about this stuff, definitely join the link in the description down below for Crypt Nation. It's literally our job is to talk about this stuff and research this stuff and put it in newsletters and portfolios, and just kind of do as much of the extra work that we don't get to talk about here on YouTube. So hopefully you guys did enjoy, and if you did, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as it does help out the channel a lot. But until next time, I will see you all in Friday's video.